Also, when some of the dispatchers are not using those drop-down lists and they're putting everything in under equipment. Like there's an RCMP sitting in there right now for Hope that it's a Subaru and it's in under equipment, not in under the vehicle make and model drop-down lists.
And give them hell.
Because if we don't know the year, we can't put it through on those.
Yeah, then let me
A
know.
lot of times we don't know.
Guess the year. I'd rather have you guess the year than put it in the wrong spot.
Yes, I always guess the year and then just put it in the correct spot, because also when the drivers go to bill, some of the companies, Sykes in particular, brings up different rates for vehicle drop-down lists or equipment. And if it's a passenger vehicle, it needs to be in the passenger vehicle drop-down list, even if we don't know the year. The driver can always fix the year once they get it. But it's much better to have it in the drop-down list than to have it in equipment.
Yeah. Okay, so going across the top, sometimes you guys will be limited to your area that you see. If you need to see other areas, just let me know and we can add other areas to it. By default, we have a lot of the filters already done for you. So you guys don't see cleared calls, canceled calls, declined calls, clogging up your screen. I see everything, but that's only because I want to see everything. Otherwise, by default, you guys have it filtered, and all you do is you just reset your filter and you can see all. So it's not hiding from you, it's there.
One question I did have, Kevin, is there any way to exclude the MTL calls from the territory? And then if we need to see them, we can go and select them, because they clog up our screen, my screen a lot. And so then I'm scrolling past a lot of MTL stuff, which is fine to be able to find.
Do you not want to see MTL calls?
I don't, but I don't know about anybody else. I mean, I want to be able to see them if I have to, but I don't do anything with them. So. Just not by default.
No, there you go. You don't see them.
Thank you. That was an easy fix.
So if you're going to search, like type in whatever you need to do and then hit the little magnifying glass, it won't go unless you do, because it doesn't know if you need any of these other filters. If you do a date range, so if you're going to search by date, apply, and then hit the search, you can also do that, and then you can print them out, like PDF, Excel, etc. I'm sure you guys have all taken a look at the summary pop-out. Did you guys have any questions?
Brittany's trying to join, but she can't.
Not here.
Not there? Okay, thank you.
So in the summary pop-out, it's basically more or less for information. This was something that Carly and Steven asked for. If you want any changes, just let me know. But basically just go through it and take a look. I'm not going to spend too much time on it because it's more or less information for you guys. Okay, so adding a service request. This seems to be the biggest thing. So what I'm hoping to do is tell you my thought process in building it. And then you guys can maybe use it from there.
Is she on it now, Joy?
In there?
No.
Okay.
So she's offline.
Future dated service requests, you can future date the call. So I can book this for the 25th at a certain time, and then I can notify the driver like a couple hours before. Okay, so that's basically what the service requests, future service request dates are. You can also don't send a notification if you don't want to. Okay, so these ones are, so from here, obviously the customer name, the callback number for you guys, email address, if you can collect it at this time, if it's not in here, collect it at this time. This will help the drivers because when they use their phones and they complete the call and they email the receipt or the invoice to the customer, they're gonna have to manually enter it on their phone. It's a lot easier for you to get it right now and just input it, because people more than likely will give it to you without a problem right now.
Yeah.
The first box, send driver details to the customer by SMS or email when the driver's on the way to the site. You can click this yes or no. Basically, it'll tell the customer so-and-so driver is on his way with an estimated ETA of, and then they can also click on a link and follow the driver there. So now over here on this side, these are the vehicles that belong to the customer. So if we change the customer, if we go back in and edit the call, change the customer, you notice that the vehicles change. But what I added based on feedback was the ability to move or copy the vehicle from the old call to the new one, because we're either going to copy, which leaves the vehicle in the existing customer and sets it up in the new customer, or we'll move it over and delete it from the old customer. But this, now earlier when I showed you the customer app, you'll understand why I had to do that, because the customer from the drop down, they maintain their vehicles. So if we just move it blindly, it could mess some of the customers up. So right here, this is one of the things that I really wanted to showcase to you guys. So if the customer is somewhere, we can ask the customer their location. It'll ask them for, I'll show you, but it'll basically ask them. This is another one that I would almost always check. Ask customer for photos and videos. Now, I'll tell you from a dispatch point of view, it's just a button. From a receivables collection point of view, it's a big deal because the customers always phone us and they always say, you didn't do this call for me, or who called you, or whatever. If we have photos and video of the customer's vehicle when they called us, it proves that they called us. So when it goes to court, we're proving. So a lot of this stuff is about covering your butt, right? Because a lot of people, they like to take the easy way out and they don't want to pay.
Is there a way that once the call's already been saved, that we're able to request location and or photos?
I can add it.
Yeah, just because I find a lot of times, honestly, like it's fast paced. We're trying to get calls in, and a lot of times I finish that up like when I'm dispatching them versus when someone's call taking and putting the call in. So me being able to go in and just click like send request for photos or location after. And then it's also occasionally we'll have something that comes in and it comes in as a winch out or something, and then we call back and we're wanting photos of it. And at that point, the only option is for them to email or text them, because I don't have a notification that I can just like push over.
So when
Yes,
you're
that would be very helpful.
summary pop out,
Yeah.
you can ask for photos and videos right there.
Okay.
Okay.
Also, sorry, going back to earlier, is there a copy button so we can copy the call when we maybe have to duplicate the call, like, you know, how in the old system we do have that? I missed where that is, sorry.
I haven't covered it yet.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so we're gonna ask the customer for their location. We're gonna ask them for photos and videos. Oh. I don't know if you guys saw that, but when you click on here, if you click on the driver, oh, I don't have my location. Sometimes you can go in there and you can see where the other drivers are in relation to that one driver. Yeah. Okay, so this is me. If I need a permit, then you can request a permit. Or just state that it needs a permit, like sometimes Donnie's calls or whatever, he needs permits. And it will go and it'll check this vehicle and say whether or not it does have a permit. So it just gives you the heads up, like if you're talking to the driver, then you can let
Where does the
him.
permit request go to? Because Stephen and I and Craig are the only ones that know how to do it.
This is for you to tell the driver.
Oh.
And despite what the drivers think, it's not my job to get them permits. It's their job to get permits,
So it's not my job to get them permits?
not mine. So
So that's my question.
that's all I know is it's not mine.
Okay.
So this is to let them know that they need to get permits. Okay. Subcontractor, if we use flaggers or anything for the call, this is only overlapping because of my view. Make sure you put this in, okay? So what this is intended is flagging, the name of the flagging company, typical markup percentage for this flagging company is, a lot of them we mark up 15%, basically because we have to pay the flaggers now and we may not get paid for 6 months. So it's to tie in a little bit of our holding cost and everything, because typically a lot of these people, they don't pay us on time. So we just have to mark up.
Who has the authority? Because remember I mailed you on Friday to add one for a payout?
All the admins can add.
Okay, because I had to get Nick to do it because I couldn't add the subcontractor, which was Coquihalla Towing.
Oh, you couldn't add them in
I
the
couldn't
list?
add it in as a subcontractor.
Okay, I'll show you how.
Okay.
Okay, so the pre-GST amount, at this point, this is just a guess. Okay, it's the best guess, and it's only to tell Janine in accounts payable that we're gonna receive an ATS traffic invoice, and if I put $1,000 in here, she knows it's of a certain size. If it's $50, she knows to look for a small one. But it's basically just to help her look and try and track down the call that belongs to this invoice. Because she has to attach the invoice into this and record it as invoiced out. So it's to help her with her job. I'm just gonna put this one to cash. The credit card, I am currently redoing the whole credit card payment system. Only to use like those handheld devices that the drivers have. When we get them on sale, they're $1,000. They're normally about $1,500. And we have about 50 of them out there. And the drivers treat them like crap. And we give them out like they're candy. Oh, a new driver, give him a handheld. Well, he's already broken it. Right? So we're moving over to the little square devices. And they stick by, like these little cases that I got for them, they stick by magnet to the driver's truck. And they can tap, they can insert, and everything will be done in the app. So.
Those can accept debit too, not just
Yep.
credit.
Yep. So I'm just finishing up the transition to that. So we'll move the whole company over to Square. So all the pre-auths, all the everything will be done in the Square system, not authorized.net. Because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but authorized.net in the last 2 months has gone downhill so far. Like it's horrible. It's down.
Excruciating to live.
Well, it's down 30% of the time, and I'm getting phone calls. It's like, there's nothing I can do. It's not us.
Yeah.
Okay, so dispatcher note. This note goes to the driver. Sometimes I notice that you guys are putting in phone numbers in here. Okay. That doesn't really help the driver because the driver has to remember that phone number and paste it into their phone because it's just not linkable. So what I did a while ago is I created this add phone number button. This phone number that you enter in here, the driver can just click on. So he can be driving down the road and he can just push it and it'll phone the customer rather than calling up, pulling up the call, going into the notes, remembering the phone number, typing it into his phone. This one is clickable. So use this one all the time. You can even do multiple ones. Like
Is there a way to like have another box that like you can put who that is so they know who they're calling.
Yeah, I can do it.
Cause then they don't just have a number there. We can have like, if there's a pickup and a drop off contact, being able to like write pick up and then have the phone number and drop and then the phone
Yep.
number.
Yeah, no worries. Absolutely.
And then the other thing we need to remember is whatever we put into that dispatcher note also gets printed on the invoice that goes to the customer.
This one doesn't.
That one did. I thought that one did because I had experimented because I had some stuff that I put in that I didn't want on the invoices. So I had printed it and it seemed to pull up just that first dispatcher note.
Okay, we're gonna try that, okay? Okay, so the first thing it did is it has sent okay, so this is Fleetcents. It's requesting photos or videos and to give location. I'm just gonna click on the location one first. Because I want you guys to see what it looks like. Okay, so basically the customer it's picking up my current address right here.
Mhm.
They can enter in an address or they can just click the button, and that's all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna click the blue and it's done. And I already felt it on my watch that the location was added right there. Okay,
So if they're at home and they want to share that they're at Superstore,
it's changed.
that's how all they have to do is type it in.
If they're at Superstore, they could have just told you.
Okay.
This is more or less for on the side of the Coquihalla.
Fair enough. I just used that as an example. Okay.
Yeah, because if they're somewhere and I don't know, I'm 20K outside or whatever, they have cell signal, so send them that. And the driver knows exactly how long it'll take to get them.
Okay.
To get there. Okay, the second one. Second one was photos and videos. So this is what it looks like. Goes to the customers. They can. Okay, so we can see right here, it captured this image and they're just going to submit. Okay, and it's already gone.
You do multiples, obviously.
Oh, yeah. Now I noticed some people are adding attachments in here. These attachments are associated to this vehicle. Okay, these attachments are not associated to the service request. Okay, so I just ran out of space for putting it underneath this vehicle detail. Otherwise, these belong to here. So that was the picture that the customer had saved to their vehicle. And this is the one that uploaded. Okay, so that's the relationship there. If you're going to upload.
The attachments that come in directly from the text message will be saved right there then.
Yes.
That's where we find them. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
And these ones go to the driver. So when they get the call.
They see exactly what the customer said.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, that's good.
So now this is what the driver got. You see how my phone number is easily linked? I can easily just click that. And this note goes to the driver. Note in dispatch, okay? So I'm going to click on my call. And you'll see the photo at the bottom. Okay, so from here, I'm just going to show you what the driver sees so you guys can understand what he sees. Basically, this screen here is intended just for a quick look at for the driver. So he's just going to look down, passenger vehicle, yellow, it's a Bentley Continental, from this location to this location. Okay, yeah, I can do this. I'm going to accept. Okay, so now they've accepted the call, but they're going to go to the bathroom. They're going to eat their lunch, whatever. But then they're going to decide they're going to be en route. So now they're en route. They can click the open in maps and they can open this so they can get directions to the call in the map. so they can just get on scene. Those people that have the CarPlay or similar thing in their truck, it'll take them there. At this point, they can pause the call to go and do another call. Like sometimes on their way, they might do a boost, a lockout, and then keep going. So they can pause and resume. I'm going to hit that I'm on scene. So at this point, all of these things are editable. So they can change it from a passenger vehicle. They can say, oh, it's a motorcycle actually. The year, make, model, color, license plate, VIN, unit, all of these things are editable. And they may not think they can, and they go, oh, I can't change it. They can. Everything's editable. Keys, yes or no. So that's where our note goes. Again, this note goes to the driver. So it stays in the call so he can see where it is. Pick up as a driver. So this is where we were told to pick up the car, but it's not actually where the car is. So I'm going to hit current location, and that will update the address to the current address. Now, the difference between drop off at location and drop off at yard. When we drop off at the yard, storage starts. Okay, so if it goes into one of our yards, if it comes to the yard and it's just intended for the driver just to drop it at the gate so the customer can come pick it up there with no storage, use the address. But if it's to go into the yard, like we're getting the keys, then drop
For
off.
bailiff vehicles, that's what they should do, because we don't store vehicles that come in for bailiffs.
Yeah.
Okay.
So email address, notes. They can add any previous damage. They have to upload 5 photos. They have to. It won't let them go on any further. Now, I changed this because some of the people like Carly Ann have really good phones, and it was taking amazing photos that were just massive. So it was taking forever to upload 5 photos. So as soon as they hit next, during this spinning process, it's actually compressing the photos, and then it'll upload them as compressed. So it takes them down a little bit. Here, now they're driving on their way back. They could hit open a map to go back, or I'm just going to pretend that I already have. So I'm going to pay and complete. So add charges. So all the ones that are in blue, those are prices specific to this customer. So when we select customer earlier, we have customer specific pricing, and it'll put it in there automatically, like Tesla. And if they put in the quantity, like for kilometers, and it says 20, or sorry, they enter the kilometers, and let's say they enter 20, enter the full kilometers.
I was gonna ask that because I know like Sykes and stuff gets 5 free.
Yes, because I don't want the drivers to have to remember this one is 5, this one is 3. Enter the full, the system knows.
Okay.
And it'll actually show them, like including 3 free. So if they do the math, they'll notice that it takes the proper kilometers into account. Okay, so I'm just going to do one Kamloops Essential Salvage. So clearly this is, sorry?
Your choice to donate, right?
That's right.
Mhm.
Okay, but I also made it so they can enter in their other, if they want to have custom charges also. So as a driver, we can hit this add min notes button, and that's notes from us. No hook charge, no fuel or fuel surcharges charged. The drivers can add notes to us. So notes to dispatch don't go on the invoice. Notes on invoice goes on the invoice. And that is where they may want to say something to the customer, like, oh, I had to wait 3 hours, or, you know, anything that they want to say. But that's where the note on the invoice comes from. So back there, they can also add a subcontractor. Is there someone waiting?
No,
Okay. The driver can add a subcontractor also. So if they're out on the scene and they need to call in a flagger, they can call in a flagger. Again, subcontractor, that $1,000, just like we did earlier. Well, that's $10,000. Okay, so they're gonna add that. So back on their charges, they'll see the invoice to be generated. Now, when they say, oh, I don't know what to do, they can suspend the call. At the bottom, proceed to payment, submit for review. So they can submit it to somebody to look at. Okay, and then they can get on to another call. So they go, I don't know what to do, so I'm going to do this. Just suspend it, right? Just suspend it to Carly. She can look at it. I can look at it. Nick can look at it. Okay, now they can go on to their next call. They're free to go on to their next call. Okay. Any questions on that? The payment screen, the next payment screen is pretty self-explanatory. It's just a payment screen. But I wanted to show you, like, if they're going crazy, just hit that suspense. Or if they're going crazy and you're trying to fly blind, you can click on administrative, go down to mobile app activity. It captures my screen. Okay, so that's the screen I'm looking at on my phone. So if the driver is like, oh,
Does it give them a notification that you've captured the screen?
No.
I was messing around with it the other day and I was like, I hope I'm not just like
No,
blowing up their phone.
it doesn't, because there's nothing to it, because let's say I'm off the screen
Yeah.
and so I go to capture it. Apple's pretty locked down, and so is Google, on what you can capture in that. Because it's within our app, we can't. So there was nothing that was able to be captured. Like here, let's just pretend, let's just grab somebody. Oh, I've got to figure that out. That it should pop up something saying they don't have the app open, but you'll notice there was no thing.
When I was doing it, it came up with the pop-up in the top right.
Yeah, my pop-up is blocked there for some reason. But you'll notice there's nothing, like you can't, it won't let you capture outside of Fleetcents. So there is no risk to the driver that they're looking at something, you don't want to see it. It's just intended for help. So when you basically, we have to capture as much information for the call as possible. So when you get like a purchase order, other videos, if it's the video of the vehicle, you can put them up here. Otherwise, if it's for the call, put them down in attachments. And you can pick whether a copy of it goes with the invoice or not. So we're going to send a copy of the photo that the customer took. So it'll automatically pick 5. The top 5 is what goes. You can pick more, but the top 5 are what goes. We may want, when we have the purchase order, try and send that with the invoice, like attach with invoice, simply because it saves questions when the customer phones us and said, who ordered this? What was this? What was this? Even though, yes, you added it to the call, it just helps when you send it for questions.
Do you want things like, photo requests from ICBC, that kind of stuff added to these calls?
Yeah, everything with this, like pretend 6 years from now, when CRA comes in here and audits us, we have everything in one spot.
Okay. And that
And-
goes under
Attachments.
note customer questions attachments. Okay. And then I've got to make sure that those boxes aren't ticked.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, so the first one, these are the notes that go back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see that's just the summary of them. You can expand all the notes. And you can collapse the notes.
Oh, speaking of expanding the notes, if something wanted to be printed out, could we put the service request number on there? Because there's nothing at present that designates what that is for.
Oh, okay. You want the service request number added to this?
I think that could be helpful.
Okay. Yeah, it goes nonstop.
It's like, what is vibrating? It's driving me nuts. What is it?
The second one, customer questions. So that is questions that we ask you guys as the dispatchers and save the answers. So some of the customer questions we show on the invoice. So if you do, like one of Craig's parking agreements, we put the answer to the question on the invoice. Who called and what was the password? So we show them this person is the one that called and this is why. Attachments, we went over. Activity, you guys can go into the activity and take a look. Like basically we try and keep track of anything in here. So you can pull down and see what the old value was, what the new value was. So remember earlier, I typed in test 123 as the unit number, but then I hit edit when I was the driver. So the driver changed it to this. So if you ever wondered, oh, who changed that? Just go in there and take a look. You can see. The vehicle change in history is if the driver changed the vehicle. So they were supposed to go in 32, but then they changed it to 27. You'll see it in here. SMS and mail. These are emails and text messages that went to the customer or went out. So the first one, we asked the customer for their location. It was sent. We can take a look at it here. We can see. You can even click on that link if you really wanted to. But you can see all the messages that went out to the customer. So we asked them for their photos and videos. We asked them for their location. Subcontractor invoices. When we entered the call, we entered this one as a test. And then me as the driver entered this one as a test to show you. So with this, I'm not attaching it with the invoice and I haven't added it to the invoice because these are guesses. Right? These are just, so there's nothing going to be held against you if you guess too high, too low. It's strictly to give Janine a heads up that like a $14,000 one. So if it comes in as $300, she's going to question it. If it comes in at $15,000, she's not going to question it, right? Because it's pretty much there. Invoice emails. So those are invoices that were sent out. Tracy, Sandra, Lisa, they all look at this one a lot. Call recordings. These are the recordings of the calls that came in. I'm working on this. I'm trying to work on it with the API that our phone company gives us. So right now it's not an exact science because some of the information that they have, like you'll see like this one here, I can't even pull the phone number. It's just they change things on me all the time. So it's a work in progress, but you at the end of the day, we should see everything to do with the call will be in that one spot. So right there. What did I want to show you? Oh, when you're entering a call, there is parking agreement. So when you guys have somebody phone in for a parking agreement, you guys don't have to go in here, right? You guys know that? So 1201 Tranquil. So when you go in here, So you can type in the parking agreement or the customer with the parking agreement. If you pick the person, it tells you, so Marianne, this person's password is illegal. And what's the password provided? If it should match. Okay. If you're wondering who else.
I have a question about the parking agreement stuff when you have a moment.
Okay.
Bring it on your thought.
You can also click on this stack and see who all the people are. So you don't have to go in there, because Craig called me and said, dispatch is getting confused because some of the customers, like this one here, has 4 parking agreements. Well, every time they update a person, I've asked them to go into the website and send a new parking agreement. The one that shows up here is always the newest one.
So I think more so the issue is we're not running PIs through this quite yet in Kelowna or even in Kamloops for the most part. So we're just trying to find the agreement so that we can get the info and put it in,
So
because
just
we can't do that in the email
go in
anymore.
there to the customer. Like that's probably the quickest way, is just to go in
Okay.
there, look, click on that, and you can see who it is and what the password is. Rather than going into parking agreements and trying to look at which one's a current one, look at it, pull it up, read it.
Yeah.
Like just type it in, click, look. It's way faster.
So, Kevin,
Yeah.
I have had a number of people call in and they don't know what the company name is that's registered with us. And they're wondering if we can search by address. I have not figured out how to search by address. And they are legit people who are, because when I do find them, they are on the list, but they don't know what their strata is in as, because sometimes it's a strata number or something like that.
That's what I was just gonna say.
Yeah.
It comes down to like, it needs to be such an exact to search in there. Like when we're typing it in to pull it up there, we have to be so exact. Like if a space is off, it's not gonna come up. If we put the name before, then sometimes it'll come up, but sometimes it won't.
Yeah, exactly.
So what would help you out if I put a search box in here for that?
Or even if it was under the parking agreements, because if I'm having a hard time finding them, sometimes I'll go to the parking agreements and I'll scroll through it and I'll be like, oh, this is how it's spelled. But if there was some way to search the addresses under parking agreements, it doesn't have to be in the main call taking area. I mean, Carly, maybe you have a different idea, but
Yeah.
if there's a way to search the address, it would be so helpful.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I just find they're hard to pull up sometimes because we don't know if it's gonna be the address or we don't know if it's gonna be under the name. So then you're trying.
Okay.
Kind of going back and forth, and then you're hoping that you have.
Well, I can.
The right one.
Yeah. I'll figure out something that I can put in here for a.
Okay.
Search the address would make it a lot easier, I find,
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
helping dispatch and everything like that.
But then a lot of times you have places that have multiple addresses, like water skates goes from 11 whatever to 12 whatever, right? So then it makes it.
Depends what building we're standing in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not showing you the address, so you don't know if this is the one that you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's
So
right.
we also have to confirm the address with them.
Okay. Yeah, okay, good feedback.
And then
Now,
like,
while we're on the subject of addresses, I know that the location is linked directly to Google Maps, which is great. But when the RCMP calls in or somebody calls in for City of Kelowna bylaw, they're like, we're in the 400 block of such and such a street. Well, I can't put 400 block of such and such a street. Then I end up asking them, well, is there a business nearby or something like that? Or what's across the street? Or
I
I
find
don't know, though, what the solution for that is.
the blocks are less, and I find the biggest issue is like RCMP will be like, we're 15 kilometers north of Merritt.
Yes, I know.
And then we're stuck trying to like drag a pin and then type it in the comments, which is fine. But having it so that in site location details, there was like how we can like select either that line or on the other one, we can select address or select yard. Having for site location, having a secondary like box below that we can just put in Highway 5, 23 kilometers north of Merritt.
And sometimes that'll be accurate and sometimes it won't be because sometimes they don't actually give us.
So, yeah, having it so that we can
It's the
like
best we can.
just leave it like that.
Okay.
Like one time I got a call and it was Revelstoke and it was between tunnel 1 and 2.
Because the
Okay.
RCMP,
If they have self-service though, click the ask location.
Yeah.
Like when they say that and you can't find
It
them?
was a third party calling in for somebody else.
Oh, okay, yeah,
So,
And sometimes the RCMP, I had one, I didn't know where he was and he wasn't able to explain where he was because he didn't really know. And so I said, well, can I send a pin to your phone? Because he'd already given me his phone number and he's like, I am not that tech savvy. He's like, I sorry, but I really don't know what to do. I was like,
okay. Okay. So just basically a general text box.
They should only be used as a last resort. That's the problem.
Funny.
Just like equipment should be used as a last resort.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So I want to point out this button too, same as pickup location. I don't know if you guys have seen that. That will just copy this address over.
Yes,
Just-
it sometimes works and sometimes doesn't though. It sometimes if I put in an address and then I say to same as pickup location, like for a unlock or a boost, when I go to save it, it gives me the red error bar at that top line where it wants the address in.
If that
So
happens,
some-
just let me know, okay, so I can look at it and see why.
Okay, so the only solution I've come up for that, because when you're really fast paced, you can't figure out how to fix it, is I select the nearest yard and then I save it and then I go back in and I change it to same as pickup location. And then it
Okay.
somehow overrides the error, so.
Well, for a lot of these things, like I know, like send me emails and preferably as much detail as you can
Okay.
after.
Yeah.
Because I'd rather not have workarounds.
No,
Because I
I
can
don't
fix
know.
it, I just have to know about it.
That. Okay, sounds good. I'll just start sending you an email when it happens.
Okay. And then Erica, you asked about copying.
Yes.
Just copy a service request right there.
Awesome. I didn't know. Awesome.
but when
Now-
you're doing it, it will also automatically assign a driver.
Yeah, just like in the
Is there a
old.
way that we can copy it and have no driver assigned?
And can we copy it and be able to change the vehicle type and information or vehicle information so that when
I
we're
got
doing it?
your, I got your email on that, so
Okay.
I've been working on it last night.
Okay, sounds good. Just when we have a
Um,
multi-vehicle MVI, then we can copy the whole call. It's fast. Then we can enter the secondary vehicle information and it's done.
Yeah, well, the intent when I built that function originally, it was to basically to go to and then from, like to return it. So let's say you take it from somebody's house to
Gotcha.
ABC, and now you're taking it from ABC back to their house. That was how I,
Yeah, that makes sense
Got it.
too.
so it copied everything. But I just have to go in there and tweak what I've copied.
Sure.
Because a lot of what is happening was intentional, right? Like copying the vehicle information, copying the driver.
But
Wasn't,
and it could still copy all that, but if we go to edit it, it doesn't edit both calls. It's not linked if you
Yeah.
change it.
yeah, I got to break that link.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
good.
which
You
I
understand
started
what we're
working
saying.
on. Oh, by the way, not this weekend, but last weekend, we officially surpassed 10 million lines of code.
Really?
Ooh,
Yes.
that's awesome.
So it's not a small thing. So
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
it's a lot bigger than what a lot of people realize.
A million's a big number.
That is.
On the note of like locations and stuff, is
Yeah.
there, I find I had the issue in the old system too, and there's just not really a good way. Is there a way that we can try and set something up for tractor swaps?
Like what?
Yeah.
Because they want them all on one call, not two. But that's us picking something up, bringing it somewhere, picking something up where we dropped it, and then bringing it out somewhere else, which gives us 3 locations. So right now, we're just having to put it in the notes, but then that invoice isn't gonna reflect the actual where we went and where we went back to.
Same customer?
Yeah.
So one vehicle from A to B, a different vehicle B to C.
But they usually, it's heavy calls always, and they only want one PO, they only want one call for it.
Oh,
Because it's always the same driver.
Yeah,
yeah.
so I just don't know if there's a good way to be able to like add a third location spot or like,
Or if a third location spot only shows up when it's a heavy call.
yeah, or like we can choose tractor swap and then it gives us that allowance.
Okay.
I just,
Aren't you so glad you had this meeting?
Well, yeah, but
He's been bored this week, so he wants something more to do.
a lot of these things are things that I sit and stare out my window trying to figure out how to.
Cause I know like right now, we're just like in our dispatcher notes, we're just adding broken down unit, working unit. You're picking this one up from here, you're bringing it to here, and then you're going to here, and it's just lengthy notes.
But we send out on one invoice.
Yeah.
Multiple vehicles, multiple destinations. Okay,
Because we don't charge, like, it's a heavy call, so we charge round trip. So it's not changing the cost essentially.
okay,
Because they're getting billed regardless
okay.
round trip.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
I have a super basic question.
Good.
So on Saturdays, Katie and I encounter this quite often. She'll make a call for Kelowna, which Kelowna doesn't typically have the system on their phones yet. So then I move it over to the old system, but I can't always cancel.
Okay.
Yes,
Why
it's a very
can't I?
good basic question because I can't figure that one out either.
And I put notes in them, but then the occasional one, you just don't have time because you're so swamped. How do I get rid of a call so that you guys aren't like, what happened to it?
Sometimes the cancel button comes up and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and it's weird because it's like, it depends on the call. Sometimes it'll allow us to, sometimes it won't.
Archive, unarchive a service request.
I can
See,
always
I didn't wanna
archive them,
click
I
that
can't
because
cancel them.
I thought I was saving all the information for later and I didn't want to do that because I
No.
want to get rid of it.
Archive is the same, it just removes it.
Okay.
But should we need to ever look at it,
Okay.
it does save it right here.
Okay.
But they're basically deleted.
Okay.
They're not taken into account for anything.
Okay, and where's the archive button? How do you archive?
Right there.
Okay.
Your actions.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you
Okay.
archive a call and let's say it's been invoiced, you'd have to get us to delete the invoice
Okay.
because
I'm more worried with stuff I have to move over, not completed, not on the
Yeah.
route, nothing.
yeah, you
Super
just
weird.
archive it.
Okay.
It just basically throws it in the trash, but I'm collecting it.
Okay.
Perfect.
It doesn't appear anywhere other than that archived thing. And then should we ever need to, you can look at it again.
Is it just different allowances for different, like RCMP versus no agency of if we can cancel it? Cause I find it's like 50-50. Like sometimes I have the option to cancel and sometimes I don't. I can't
No,
figure
that
out-
button is always there.
Mm-mm.
No, not archive. I like for actually canceling. Sometimes I have the button, sometimes
Yeah.
I don't.
It depends on where it's at. Once it's in tow, you can't cancel it.
Even ones that aren't even dispatched, you can't cancel sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a user access.
Okay.
But does it like depend on like the agency that's been put in?
Because some of the
Why
ones,
can I do
some
it like
calls
50% of the time, but not
Yeah.
always?
Depends on where the call is.
But even
So in the
undispatched.
flow, undispatched, you
Like
should
TV
be able to
dispatch.
you should be able to
Cause I
cancel.
can sometimes, it just sometimes doesn't pop up.
If it doesn't, just let me know
Okay.
because it's not set up it's only set up by the things that it checks is user rights.
Okay.
So do you have the right to cancel it? Yes. Where is it in the process?
So like, could the
So-
problem be the fact that Katie started a call
No.
and it won't let me cancel it because I didn't start it?
No.
No, okay.
no,
If
because I
you
can
have
even
the
try to go
rights
back in and cancel
call,
it and I still
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
I don't even have an account, so there's that.
You turn it off this time or seen it again?
Like your alarm during?
I don't know what it's for.
So I need an account, Kevin.
Who's
You're
counting?
in there. You're in there. I set you up.
Oh,
So
I've
you
never
just
gotten
need
a
your login,
password or
Morgan.
anything.
Ed,
Mine just defaults to,
can we Sexsmith 3015?
and of course, I'm never casually just going into it. I'm always like panicked when I'm in it. I'm like, oh, I gotta move it over. 3 calls on hold.
Well, Loggy, why don't you come over since I have to talk to you about the stuff anyways,
Mm.
and we'll get you.
Okay.
They changed the Sexsmith ad password?
Your password's Kevin is my hero. Capital K.
Really?
You have to enter it enough times that you believe it.
Okay.
Oh, and then she can change it. It's set, so you can't change it until like 20 logins.
Until it's memorized in the, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions while we're looking at this part? No?
That's a big no.
I don't think so.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but this button here, I don't know if you guys have ever tried it. But when you have 2 monitors, if you click that, it pops the info out to a second window. So you can drag that over to your second monitor. If you, let's say you wanted to watch this call while you were still looking at the dispatch screen. So you could be looking at this screen, but have this on a different window. That make sense?
But it opens it in a browser, correct?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Not in the actual Fleetcents app.
Well, yeah, because this is just a browser also. I just hide it.
Yeah. It just doesn't, yeah, exactly. It doesn't show, oh, hey, I'm in Google Chrome.
Yeah. You guys don't care about invoices? What sort of questions would you guys have on a day-to-day basis?
For accesses at least, for the reception side of things, how, if we're charging them the 150, how do you want us doing that? Cause I haven't had it come about yet. But I also think, from my knowledge, the only time that you can make a payment on the invoice is once I've generated an invoice.
So you're talking about charging that, adding that $150 to just go in and, so,
Yeah, like a split payment of like the $150
Or that.
deposit.
Or split
Can you
payment.
put it in as a credit?
I guess it would be as like a partial, it would probably go through like a partial payment.
Right, but we can't even add it until there's an invoice there.
Which we can't do that till the customer picks it up, because for our release notes.
well, even if the customer hasn't picked it up, you can add items to the call.
But it's
I
not.
think I've done it. I think I've added it as a -150 in the tax.
But you're talking about adding a certain like access.
Yeah, like $150 access fee that'll come off their bill at the very end.
It's a
So it's a deposit. Okay.
But wouldn't we have to show it as a payment? Because if they paid debit, we still need to have something generated.
Yeah, I think it would have to go through as like a partial payment, which I know like sometimes like if a card declines after the pre-auth, it'll show partial payment. So it'd
Yeah.
have to be similar to that in like partial payment of 150.
Yeah, I'll build something for that just to show you because you'll want to give the customer a piece of paper when they leave.
Exactly.
So I'll build something that'll pop up. You can do a line item and it will say on there to be applied to the payment.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Piggybacking off of Carly's comment too, what about split payments? Because as of right now, for the few that I've had for split payments, I've just entered in, if it was like debit and cash, I've entered in the debit and then I put the cash in the notes. Do you just want us to do it that way for now?
Yeah, I guess I could probably ever.
Possible. So. So I have an invoice. So you want to put only a certain amount on that.
Kevin, this is what I had done the other day. Remember you said for me to put it under, was it handheld and then to say it was cash, was it? Or
Yeah,
was
well,
it
under handheld, like
under
when
check?
you have
Under
your
check,
credit card
maybe.
machine,
Mhm.
you can put like the auth code and the amount here. And so you can pick $100. And then you do the rest.
Oh, okay. So as long as you enter cash last,
Yeah.
then it should work. Okay.
And if someone phones in and says, oh, my friend will pay, you can send a payment link. I don't know if you guys have tried
Yeah,
that.
what is that?
So
Mommy's paying for
Is
my
it like a
coat.
request, like up on their end as like an e-transfer request almost?
okay, so I'm clicking payment link. I'm gonna click the payment link. You can email it to them, or you can send a text. That's what they will see.
And it can take debit too,
No, credit card.
a credit or debit card. I got excited.
So when I click on the payment link, it's the same thing that we see earlier. They can enter in all their payment information and pay it. It's handy for third parties. Like
Yeah.
somebody over there is gonna pay, so you can send it to them.
What
That-
if, okay, so we said if we enter cash, to enter it last, which makes sense, but what if they are making a partial payment and they're paying cash and first, and then they're going to pick the vehicle up tomorrow and they're going to pay the rest with their debit card? Is there any way to be able to enter cash first?
Or what if they use multiple,
I can
like
do
a
it.
credit and a debit card? They put $60 on this card and the rest on the other.
Yes.
Yep. Doesn't do it yet. But like everything. No, that's why this stuff is handy, because keep in mind, these are things that I'm thinking about in the middle of the night. Right? You guys are sleeping. I'm building this.
You're not sleeping.
Hey, keep it flying.
Another thing that I.
You've used it.
I'll be invoicing questions, so.
Or that, I got just a couple questions. In yard allocation, I can't quite remember, are we able to search in that, like for license plates? Okay. That takes care of that question.
I have a question about keys.
Okay.
Where's the screen?
A couple times I have generated the invoice and then went, oh crap, I don't know what the key number is and I can't get it at that point. And I have had to go through my key box.
Oh, so what do you want to do?
I would like to be able to see the key number in the main screen
Yes.
where it says, where you say key, yes, key, no. I would like
Key.
there to be a box there for the key number.
I agree. That makes
Key
sense.
box in the service request detail?
Mhm.
Okay.
Because sometimes the
Yeah,
drivers
thank you
also
at
have
all.
called me and be like, what's the key number for this call?
Yeah, okay. All right, I can do that.
Or if you only have one computer screen, right, you're going back and forth between the screens. But I have
Yeah.
found the problem of, oh, damn it, I don't know what the number is anymore.
Okay, who only has one screen?
Me,
Teresa.
Teresa.
Okay.
You're about to have two.
Mm.
I don't want that.
You had to.
That's good. That's good.
I thought you had to.
Me? No, I've only ever had one.
Weird, okay. Now I'm gonna show you guys something that I look at, because you guys, enough questions.
I have another one brewing.
Okay, 1 second.
I guess Emily, you better put your questions aside.
You can start texting them to the people who haven't asked yet, and we'll use your quota.
It's gonna be bombarded with
There we go,
emails for the next 10 days.
Okay, so I'm logged in as Carolyn. Okay. This is something that you guys, especially you, the outlining offices, I want you guys to look at a lot. Cash account. These are drivers who's collected cash and haven't turned it in. So, basically, the service request is saying it was paid by cash. Okay, so go into here and look. And then when you put the cash in a little baggie, put the invoice number, or sorry, the service request number, so we can match it.
Okay. What
Okay,
is the
so-
difference here between total cash collected and cash with team?
Total cash collected is just an information thing, like that'll could say $100,000, but the cash that is out with the team is like, they have to turn in $226.
Okay. Oh, I see. What about tips? Like if they collect cash, like my guys don't always have, the correct change on them. Is that going to be paid out but from our petty cash, or how does that work?
Tips are recorded in, like if they pay by if they get cash, turn it all in. Okay, because tips are kept track of in here. So we keep track of all the tips by driver. So the driver can go in.
Yeah, is there a place where the driver can see the tips that are collected?
So as a driver, I can go into my app and I can see, I'm not very good, so I only got one tip.
And it's still pending.
Yeah, but I can go in and take a look at my tips and then request them. And so the status goes, they request it, then it's pending, requested, and paid. So as long as they've turned in all their cash, like their job is to turn in the money. And so whether the tip comes in by cash, comes in by credit card, whatever, we'll keep track of it in here. If they take the cash out, you gotta send us an email so we can adjust the tip and their cash. If that makes sense.
What about if the tip is on their handheld?
It's still, so record the full amount of the handheld. So if the invoice is 160 and they've collected 200,
Yep.
when they get payment of the handheld, collect 200, because we need to keep track of the tips.
Right. Is there any way so that when they enter it into their app as a handheld payment, they just enter $200 and then it will automatically know that that's a tip, or is there somewhere where
Yes.
they have to indicate? Okay.
No,
So
it
anything over
automatically
and above
knows.
the invoice amount puts it on.
Yes.
Okay. Perfect.
And the reason for that is when I do the bank rec, I'm looking for a $200 collection of money.
Right?
Yes, exactly.
Right, so if they take the tip out, or if they only put $160 for handheld, I'm searching for, well, a long
And it doesn't
time,
match.
looking for $160. I have this $200 one, and then I gotta try and trace that down and it wastes time.
So if they collect cash, how are they doing that on their end? How do we make sure that they're doing it properly?
So when they collect cash, they can collect, oh, look at that. They can collect, they can enter in the amount of the cash payment. If they, let's say it was $160 thing, they got $180. They can put $160 and keep the 20.
Keep the 20. Yeah.
Yeah.
If they don't have the exact change, then that's where it'll get entered in and then added to their tip tally in Fleetcents.
Yes, but I want to go in here and see, because right now we have $44,000 up with the team in cash. That has yet to be turned. Okay, so when we get it, I go in here and I collect it. So I mark it as, so it goes from the driver to you guys to us. So once it hits us, I can collect it. Okay, and then it goes off that they don't owe it to us anymore. And the reason for this is if the driver leaves, we have to pay them their tip. So I have to know real time what their tip total is.
Okay.
Anything else?
I got nothing. You're right beside me. I get to bug you all day, every day.
Is there a way when we look at the GPS of the drivers, is there a way to just have it, like, instead of having to go to each person individually, having it just
The
all,
whole fleet.
the whole?
Yeah, is there any way we can see where the fleet is? Because then we're like, oh, well, I wonder if there's someone at nearby Merritt that could grab this.
And I don't have to go through and check every single one.
Yeah.
I didn't like that one.
That's what I'm doing with each of those. Every time you hit this, so let's say you want his location, it's going from the computer to the server to Motive down to the truck and back. So if you can see the whole fleet, the requests are, it's going to be like a lot. You know what I'm saying? Is it throws it out to every truck within, and it will wait for some that aren't responding also. I can do it. But it's just like the photo upload thing. I got to figure it out
Yeah,
because I have to figure out how to make it more efficient.
yeah, because
Or maybe we could be able to zoom out, select an area of the map and say, is there anybody here?
yeah,
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
You can tell we're not programmers.
Aren't they allowed to have access to Motive itself? Mind you, nothing's really working on that one right now.
because there's also the fact of sometimes I'm just like, I don't know what, like,
She'll
there's a
call
couple
me.
drivers where I have to call her and be like, hey, can you GPS this driver really quick? Like, just need to know where they are, where the truck is, where it's mapping.
Yeah. And this doesn't do it?
No, because there's just a few drivers who I'm not able to do on there.
Ivor being one of them.
Yeah, and then some of them
Oh,
locations.
where do you get his from?
Motive, I have access to Motive.
Well, this pulls from Motive.
He's not an option in the list. I actually don't even know if he's been, like, if he's in the system.
Oh, because he doesn't sign into a truck.
He's old. They'll never figure
Oh,
it out.
what truck you,
240,
Oh,
who?
240.
well. That was the only one I remember.
A lot of packages here. That's the third one since we've been here.
Oh, she's away.
And then, like, is it up to the drivers to have to make sure that they're signed into the right truck? Because a lot of them, like, the only reason I know them is because I know these drivers have swapped trucks. So I know that Jeff Lawrence was driving Luke's tandem from Hope. So when I needed to find where he was, I had to look under Luke or so.
But then we
forth.
could never find Luke because we never knew what truck he was in.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So like searching via the truck instead of the driver.
yeah, I can add that too.
But then we often don't know what truck the drivers are even in.
Yeah, they won't update.
They won't tell. Yeah, they,
you know,
they
oh,
never
I'm-
think to say, oh, I'm in 403 today.
I used to have it, so if the driver wasn't logged into a truck, they couldn't
accept a call.
accept a call. But then there was becoming issues.
Yeah.
So now, one of the downfalls right now is if they don't sign into the right truck, they're when they're in their driver's app, they can pull up the ICBC documents, their permits, their everything for that truck in the app.
Right.
So if they want me to throw them a permit.
Yeah.
I save it to the truck so they can pull it up. So they have to be signed into the right truck. Yeah. But if searching by truck number will help, I can add that, and then
Yeah,
it might be a,
maybe. Cause then at least like, I don't know, like for me, I find with like the heavies in Kelowna, because I don't know if Cody is gonna be hopping in 444, 777, like I have no idea, but I can only track it by that one, by
yeah,
him. So sometimes he'll be on a call and his truck says it's sitting down at the yard.
well, I'll
Same
tell
with
them,
Brian and Johan and Calvin, because they all kind of hop within the same trucks. So I just need to know if the truck's moving or not.
well, I'll tell them,
Into it.
because we're gonna do driver training soon. I'll run them through signing into the truck.
Perfect.
And it's kind of a non-negotiable. Because we need to be able to track the truck.
Yeah. Oh, when something's been suspended to me, how do I remove it out of suspense?
Do something with it.
I just have to do something with it and it like automatically pulls it out of suspense.
Yeah, like typically you want to invoice
Generate
it
the
or whatever.
invoice.
If you can't generate the invoice, you can suspend it to Nick
Okay.
or somebody else to generate
How
that next
do
step.
I suspend it?
I'll show you. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, it's easier to show you one.
Okay.
Anything else? So some of the things that we're working on is yard to yard, yard to yard, yard to destination, and then breaking it out by line items. So if you move it from yard A to yard B, it will automatically add the storage charges from yard A. If you don't want to, go in and edit the call and remove the storage, but it automatically, because it calculates it, so it does automatically. It will also keep track of drivers. This part was done by this driver, this part was done by this driver, and it will be done on this. So you see how this expands or not? I don't know if you guys ever do that. You can shrink that up, but there'll be two of those bars. So from this driver, this was why it was added, this driver, this vehicle, and it'll break it out by destination. So the invoice will be broken out.
Maybe we could do something similar for the tractor swap.
That's what I was thinking.
And I guess another question I had was when we have multiple drivers on a call. So
Still doing that.
What was that?
I'm still building that.
Okay, you're still building that. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll wait.
Yeah,
and see what you come up
multiple
with.
drivers to one service request.
Yes.
Yeah, I've had to. It's
Right
taken a
now-
while for me to do it, so.
Oh yeah, and it's not simple. Right now, I'm just adding in a note and sending it to Tracy and Boobon. Such a driver with this number, 1 hour for standby, 1 hour for blocker truck.
Yeah. Yeah, and they've told me that they're doing that, so, but once I have it done,
Okay.
I'll email everybody and
Perfect.
let them know.
Yeah, because I'm just afraid I'm gonna miss something and then
Yeah.
doesn't get paid.
Yeah, that'd be very easy to miss.
Very easy.
Yeah, because I'm working on the, finishing up the site, yard to yard, yard to yard, yard to destination part. And assuming could be done by different drivers. The payment side, like with Square integration. Nick wanted performa invoices, so that was released this morning. I don't know if that's related to any of you guys, if you guys would ever, somebody might say, oh, where's our charges at? Can you send me something? You can do up a performa invoice.
Oh,
Right,
work in
where it's
progress.
Sitting at the moment.
Sorry?
A work in progress sort of invoice.
Yeah, like, what would it look like
Or,
30
yeah,
days from now?
exactly. Or they'll be like, well, what's the tow costs for this? But we still have like 30 days of storage or a week of storage or whatever.
Yeah, so you can go in and so I have one thing to be generated. You can go in and do a pro forma invoice. So now it's a pro forma.
Okay.
And then if you want to, you can convert that to an actual invoice. And then send it out. But at least that with a pro forma one, you can show the customer what it would look like.
Right.
And you'll notice there is no invoice number. It's just a date. So because it's not an invoice, it doesn't have an invoice number.
Right. Okay.
And should we get audited, I don't want it to have an invoice number because CRA always checks continuity of invoices.
Yes. It's just kind of like a statement.
It's a guess. Like, here's what it would look like.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can't pay it. You can't do anything. Only thing you can do is remove it or convert it to an actual invoice.
Okay.
Looking in ICBC notes, but with the new system, in the old digital dispatch system, I would have to go in, close it off, and then I could copy the call from there and go for it that way. Do I need to do anything with the old call? Like if it was an accident, for example, it being towed from the accident scene to the yard, then I'm making a new call from the yard going to a shop. Do I need to exit out or do anything with the old call?
Well, if it's in the yard and you're moving it out,
Yeah.
you would just hit this
Okay.
and it'll ask you, drop it off somewhere else, move to another yard, or just take it out.
I always have to make sure in the original that the number, full VIN and plate are in there too, and then it just copies everything over.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but this will move it out and it keeps the charges with it.
If you're to go drop off request, put in your address, what then happens? Is a new call made?
Yep.
That pops up in the to be dispatched? Is the driver's
Yep.
name already in there?
Nope.
Okay.
No, it's
So it'll just go to be dispatched.
yeah, just creates another request.
So realistically, for like an ICBC tow out came to our yard for an accident, is now going to a shop, should it be using drop off request?
Yep. Because then everything to do with that one service request or that one accident follows it through,
Unless
meaning
it's salvaged.
photos. Yeah,
Then you would use.
clear.
Okay.
What if it goes to
Although-
what if it goes to salvage?
Clear request, because you're stopping the storage at that point.
So, crush the
And then
vehicle.
if the yard moved it from yard 4 over to salvage, then I guess you would go back in and move it to a different yard.
Well, one of the things that I'm gonna add in here is a fourth one that I'm gonna put to salvage.
Okay.
Because there seems to be,
That will remove it from storage as well.
yes. Because there seems to be thoughts that vehicles are marked as salvage that aren't actually, we're not getting paid for salvage. I don't know what's happening to the vehicles.
Okay.
So we can mark them as salvage. Then when we get paid for salvage, we can go in there and record the ones that we've been paid for salvage and try and track down the ones that were said to go to salvage, but didn't.
Right. Maybe they haven't gone or somebody took it and recorded properly.
Yeah. Because we want to keep track of everything and why it left. But does that answer your question?
That does answer the question. Thank you.
And then I'm also building ICBC invoices within this. So it'll pre-populate all the ICBC invoices that Dave does. So it'll be in here.
Okay, that will be awesome. That'll make it
Yeah.
a lot easier.
And I also reached out to ICBC about integrating with their system. So we know certain things like, is this vehicle insured? Is this, yeah.
You're gonna-
Yeah.
When we
But-
use Tim, sorry, I don't know if many are using Tim through the ICBC program. I've put vehicles in there and it's come up, oh, there's no claim on this. And there is a claim, or it'll just say, no, there's no claim, or like the vice versa thing. So you can't really trust Tim.
Yeah,
Pesky Tim,
that's ICBC for you though,
literally.
right? Oh, we died. Yeah, I can go get my charger, but
I have one more little question. And you and I talked about this, but everybody keeps asking me, we'll have a button eventually, right, for holds. Any vehicles that have a hold on them.
yes,
Yes.
I'm working on that. We're currently working on that also.
Everybody, it's being worked on.
Yeah, so holds is, so when you get the service request, at the time of the service request, you can put this vehicle's on hold for a certain number of days. The driver can say, put holds on, and you can also go in and edit the call to add holds. So then when you pull up the service request, there's gonna be a bar, a ribbon across the top that says, current hold, 2 days remaining of 7 days.
Yay, awesome,
So, yeah, so you don't release a car that's not supposed to.
awesome.
Yeah.
What if
I'm
it's just a
figuring out,
random
like,
RCMP hold and
Yeah.
you don't know when they're gonna release it? Like
Yeah.
it's just a hold until
Like-
further notice.
Yeah,
Same thing?
Yeah.
Just no day count?
yeah, then we can just put, I'll figure it out. We'll just put something in there like to
Or
be
Nick puts an
determined.
ICBC file on hold,
Yeah,
something like that for trailer loaded with something. What are we doing with the content sort of thing?
Yeah, it's just a general hold
Awesome.
for whatever purposes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just so we don't release a car that's not supposed to. Yeah. So that's it in a nutshell.
My last question is, will you email that slideshow so for those people that were in attendance today, so we can?
I asked for it to be recorded, yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
See, hopefully it did record it.
It says recording in progress
Does it?
yeah.
on this thingy here.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome.
One other thing we could maybe include with that recording is just showing how to generate an invoice. I know a couple of the other cities have been giving me a couple calls when it comes time to generating the invoice, just because they haven't been shown how to get to that point yet.
Oh, okay. Like when you're looking at a service request, click on manage charges to add items.
Yeah.
Then when you're in there, there's a button for you to generate invoice right there.
Oh, yeah, because I do it in the Kelowna office here and there, but just for the other cities, like they haven't had much training.
I think Brittany hasn't even been in Fleetcents yet,
Yeah.
because she has only been with us for.
Yeah,
So just a video that they can go back to rather than trying to call and get a hold of me if I'm with a customer or I'm doing something else.
yeah. Well, I'm thinking maybe for a lot of the people, now, once they've seen this, I'll just talk to them and do, what sort of questions do you have?
Hmm.
Right, maybe 5 minutes of a chat instead of an hour and a bit going through.
I have some questions, maybe this isn't the place for it, but about when a driver picks a vehicle up and the caller was RCMP. And then they're putting in the rates for RCMP impound, those new ones that got rolled out. And when then it becomes the customer is responsible for paying for it, not the police. So to me, the rates change.
Yes,
Impound, but impounds are billed at the higher RCMP rate. That's why the RCMP changed it to charge people more for impounds.
No,
It
I
doesn't
understand.
change to a retail.
Well, okay, but like, are we talking impounds as a 7, 30, 60-day impound, or let's bring this vehicle in off the road for safekeeping?
No.
Or,
If it's an
No.
IRP,
Mm-hmm.
immediate roadside prohibition, so that's gonna be a 24-hour, 3-day, 7-day, 30-day
Or more.
plus.
And those are the higher rates that we just got.
Yes.
The other ones, if it's a courtesy call that usually doesn't get, it doesn't have a file number. If it doesn't have a file number, then it gets charged retail rates.
Yes.
But if
Yeah.
it has a file number, it gets charged as impound rate.
I've had both. Just the other day, I had a courtesy call for safekeeping with the file number.
Okay. Well, if it's coming back to the yard under the premise that RCMP is calling it in,
Yes.
then it's going RCMP rates.
Okay.
If they call
But that would
and
be-
someone's in an unsafe place and we end up towing back to their house, then it's a retail call.
Yeah.
But if it comes back to the yard, no, it's RCMP.
Yeah, if there's a file number, it's all CMP, right? If it's just a courtesy where it doesn't have a file number, then it would just be the regular rates. If it does have a file number, then it would be those other rates.
Okay.
On that note, when we put in a call and we go RCMP Kelowna, how is it gonna change the rates based on if it's an impound or if it is just coming to the yard for being abandoned? Because then we're gonna have our new IRP rates versus RCMP ICBC rates. Right? And that's only gonna be on impound. So when we're putting it into the system, is there a way that we can,
That not on the drivers?
yeah, that we can prompt it to be, this is an IRP, this is gonna be under these rates, because that's also gonna affect when they go to put storage on them, what the storage rate's gonna be at.
Yeah, because as of right now, it's kind of just fixing the storage date. Because I find pretty much all of the storage rates are not correct with what they're being billed
Yeah.
for.
Yeah,
Agreed.
storage, there's only one storage rate right now in the system,
It's like 2070.
and that's based on the yard.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna have to change it to be a storage rate by customer.
Yeah, and
And then RCMP.
even then, the customer is
different.
gonna be RCMP regardless, but there's gonna be separate categories within it. Like I know on digital dispatch, we have RCMP 3/7 day, RCMP 24 hour. So maybe having a secondary drop down when RCMP pops up, that's if it's an impound or if it's not, like our
ICBC.
know. Yeah, so that we know, first off, so that when the drivers get prompted to do their invoice, it's giving them the correct rates for the tow that they did
Yeah,
and also for the storage aspect of it for the yards.
okay. Let's
There's
talk,
also the 5505 fee from them.
Pardon?
There's also the 5505 fee.
IRP fee.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that would be nice. Because right now, what I do to add on that 55 is I just do, if like sometimes the custom charges, I can't click. It's blanked out, like I'm not allowed to use it. So I've just been doing
and go to the one down below.
down below.
When you're in managed charges, there's two areas. It appears as one area, but there's actually two. So this one is for the price group and the one down below is custom, like you can edit whatever you want to.
Thank you. That's actually helpful to know.
Yeah. Yeah, well, let's talk through the IRP thing.
Yeah. So it would make way too many like agencies if we added it there. Cause that would
Yeah.
be an
Yeah.
insane amount for all of the different RCMPs and then also doubling that up by having ICBC versus IRP rates. So I feel
And
like
it
you'd need like a secondary
It
drop down.
already takes enough, like a long time for Fleetcents to be able to come up with the drop downs for the RCMP.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't want to have to add all those other ones.
Yeah,
Carolyn, we can't hear you.
Check, hello.
Hi.
I have a question for you. I need to get the customer's keys. It's in Fleetcents. How do I find out the key hook?
yard allocations. Administrative, yard allocation.
Administrative. Customers, mobile app, cash account. Oh. 5-3. And then I just look for their service request.
You see the middle column, it says key box or key slot.
Key box. Oh. Doesn't say whether it's RCMP or ICBC though.
Sorry, what was your question? I thought you wanted to know what key slot it was in.
Yeah, but we have two. We have an ICBC box and an RCMP box. That's okay. I'm gonna figure it out at this end, but
5367.
You should just be able to go to yard allocations and then see everything that's in your yard and about the middle of the screen.
They have a
Yeah.
separate key box.
I've got the key box. What I'm saying is we have two key boxes here, ICBC and
Oh,
So if it just says,
Okay, I can
You
figure it out.
fancy.
don't know if it's ICBC or RCMP.
I would get in the habit of asking them to maybe number the boxes 1 and 2. So it's 1-13, 2-13.
Yeah, I'm gonna mute myself again because I just got to deal with this customer. But thank you. I got what I need.
Okay. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. If there's anything else, just give me a call, send me an email preferably, because then I have it tracked down and I can stare at it. 'Cause if you call me, I forgot by the time we hung up.
So would you prefer if with the rest of the dispatch team that didn't get to come today, if we get the recording and go over, and if there's anything missing, then they can bother you instead of setting up another?
Yeah, probably just watch the recording or
Okay.
whatever.
Carly, do that?
Yeah. So I do. Watch the recording. If not, if there's any simple questions though, ask me. Again, like the biggest thing is don't try and figure out a workaround. Let me know so I can fix it the first
I
time.
just call you a number, I which you use.
Yeah. Well, that's the easiest thing, right?
Yeah.
Because like I don't do dispatch. I never have. So it's I'm building it from maybe logical,
Yeah. And then feedback.
right?
And then feedback.
Yeah, which I get very little feedback except from Carly. And Katie. Katie's doing great on emailing me, which is really helpful because then I get it and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I never send the emails. I always say I'm going to, and then I forget. And then by the time I am ready and have time to send an email, I forget what my issues were.
Right? Yeah. Well, her issues are a lot when we're not working.
Yeah.
So it's helpful to see it. But the big one I wanted to point out to everybody was that cash one. So the people in the outlying areas can know, I'm gonna go through there and record all the cash that we have received. But then once it's cleaned up, you guys can go through it and identify the cash that is to be sent to us and how to keep track of it and follow up with the driver, like, hey, you haven't turned in this cash. Just so they know that we're monitoring it. Okay, thanks. Yeah, okay, well, thanks for coming.